Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC Houston. In this one, we have Nora Cornolle taking on Jocelyn Edwards. This is going to be a rematch. Now, these two fought not that long ago, I would say, about 2.5 years, where Cornolle won a unanimous decision. Now, it was a relatively competitive fight, but I thought maybe Nora kind of edged it out just a little bit. Now, since that fight for both of them, because that was their latest fight of 5, Jocelyn Edwards lost another decision to Eileen Perez, which, to be fair, Perez is a top contender, and Jocelyn Edwards had her moment. But since that fight, which was UFC 302, Edwards has not lost since. She's currently on a 3-fight win streak, 3 finishes, submitting Tamiris Vidal, knocking out Chelsea Chandler last April, and then most recently last August, knocking out Pesela Cachuera, and being the first to defeat her via strikes. Meanwhile, for Cornolle, she, similar to Edwards, is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. After the win against Edwards, she won a TKO win over Melissa Mullins, just destroyed her with knees to the body. Then lost a relatively very competitive striking fight with Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Got a nice submission win over Haley Cohen, and then most recently lost to Carol Rosa, where she just got thoroughly out-wrestled. So it'll be quite an interesting rematch, I will say, mostly just because of the clear improvements that Jocelyn Edwards has made since that fight. And plus, with rematches, it's not necessarily the matchup itself, it's more so what adjustments can the other two make. So, without further ado, let's get down to the breakdown. Starting with Nora Cornolle. Hey, she is pretty structured, composed, and technical, and very good at keeping fights relatively clean. More so specifically with her kickboxing background, Cornolle, she likes distance, she likes space, and she likes to strike in sequences where she can see everything develop. Plus, she's also very comfortable in the clinch, as shown against Melissa Mullins, like I said, with those knees to the body. Plus, against Haley Cohen, she's able to use a lot of good judo and in close quarters. So, relatively speaking, when it comes to range, Cornolle can fight just about in either range, and she has weapons for all. Now, in the first fight, like I said, Cornolle also kind of benefited from clarity. She was able to fight at her rhythm for stretches, and when she's allowed to do that, she scores efficiently. Now, looking at Jocelyn Edwards, Edwards is pretty tall for the division, actually pretty big. She's missed weight a few times, but seemingly has dialed it in. And you look at the stats for Edwards, she's 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. So for height and reach advantage, she is about an inch taller than Cornolle and has a 3-inch reach advantage. And like I said, she's just seemingly naturally big for the division. And now, one of the other things about Edwards is while she may not be the most pristine when it comes to technique, she hits incredibly hard, or at the very least has seemingly unlocked a new level of strength. As I said, specifically with her long-range left hooks, those were the punches that she knocked out both Chelsea Chandler and Cachuera with. Plus, with Edwards, she throws from different looks and very good at mixing in different levels of her striking, especially to help make it unpredictable and thus keep her opponents always guessing. Plus, when Edwards fights aggressively and long stretches, she's able to force opponents to hesitate and capitalize on those. As well as in terms of grappling as well, I would say Edwards has greatly improved upon it. As now, while she did get out wrestled by Eileen Perez, since that fight, Edwards has steadily improved her ground game, and she was able to get a submission over Tamiris Vidal. Who, granted, I know not the highest caliber, in fact, not even in the UFC anymore, but I think that counts for something. Now, looking at certain variables with this rematch, one of them, like I said, with Edwards being able to fight aggressively, at one moment she's being able to fight at kicking range, the next she's stepping in with straight shots, and the moment that after that she's changing levels or exiting at an odd angle. Those are the kind of variables that can frustrate a fighter who more or less fights more in a rhythm, like Nora Cornolle. And now here's where the rematch elements become important. Cornolle has already shown what she does when she's allowed to dictate the pace. The question is whether she can do it again once Edwards has kind of already seen it and felt it before. And stylistically, I think Edwards maybe is better equipped to adjust. Here's why. She's longer, she's rangier, and if she commits to fighting tall and maintaining that reach advantage she has, she can make Cornolle work much harder to enter cleanly. Plus, with seemingly a bit more improvement in her wrestling game, and we saw Cornolle, even with her own set improvements, is still pretty bad at her get-ups, especially when she gets taken down. I think Edwards can really use that to her advantage. Now, I think the first few minutes, I should say, are key in this, as I think Cornolle will likely try to establish his order early. Jab, kick, reset, stay tidy. Edwards' job is to disrupt that almost immediately. No long staring contests, no letting Cornolle measure freely. If Edwards steps in first and makes the change slightly uncomfortable, she can set the tone to her style and her rhythm. And Edwards also doesn't need dominance to swing rounds. She just needs visible impact, which she has. She has the height and reach and deceptive power to make Cornolle pay. Now, another factor here is physicality. As I mentioned before, Edwards is just naturally bigger for the division, and when she uses that size correctly, long kicks, long straight punches, forcing opponents to overreach, she's much harder to deal with than when she fights small or in close range. So if she avoids getting drawn into tight range boxing exchanges and instead keeps things long and awkward, the fight shifts in her favor. Meanwhile, for Cornolle, his best path is through control and repetition. And kind of doing the same game plan, implementing a lot of her clinch, I would assume, is probably her best path to victory. And just doing small strikes, right? Like calf kicks, jabs. Excuse me. So overall, just kind of, maybe not even fight boring is the right word, but fight smart. For Edwards, however, the best path is to disrupt that and find the odd angles, find the left hook specifically is what I'm thinking of. And in rematches, those types of variables, what I'm talking about, often win. So for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Jocelyn Edwards to win the rematch. I think in terms of who's improved more after their last fight, which in this case, who's looked better in 4 fights, I honestly think Jocelyn Edwards has, because she has improved. She was able to hurt Eileen Perez. Then you look at the next 3 after that. She's shown, like I said, good visible power before. Better at just her cardio, better at weight control, and overall picking her spots. Whereas Cornolle, while she's, like I said, improved some of her clinching game, improved her ability to finish on the ground, and overall her striking has always been good. I just think she hasn't improved that much in terms of her ability to defend takedowns. Plus, more importantly, I think physicality is just the biggest thing. And with Edwards seemingly having improved upon her ability to use her physicality and the X factor of that power she has, I think it all leads to Edwards to win the rematch. So once again, I'm picking Jocelyn Edwards, and I think she's going to get a knockout in this one, honestly. I could see that left hook catching Cornolle a few times, and eventually one of them's just going to hit the button. So once again, I'm going to pick Jocelyn Edwards, and I'm going to pick her via TKO in this match, or KO, however you want to describe it. But with that being said, that's been my breakdown of this matchup. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think's going to win. But until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. And remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.